now have Barrister Peculiar Okunola come on board, and she is a dynamic barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. She is dedicated to using the law as a vehicle for social justice and equity. As an associate lawyer and partner at Guild Frontiers Advocates and the Assistant Secretary of the International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA, Ondo State Branch, Peculiar has extensive experience in domestic violence mediation, child welfare advocacy, and providing pro bono legal representation for indigent clients. She is a member of the Nigerian Bar Association and associate of the Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators. Peculiar combines a strong background in dispute resolution with a passion for public health and civic sensitization. She has led numerous legal clinics and community campaigns aimed at empowering vulnerable populations to understand and exercise their fundamental rights. She's committed to fostering a society where justice is accessible to all, making her a vital voice in the conversation on women's rights and legal protection. Her session today is focused on practical steps for women to protect and exercise their rights. Please, let's welcome Barrister Peculiar Okunola. Welcome, Ma, the floor is yours. Hello, Ma, are you on the call? Hello, Ma, Barrister Peculiar, the floor is yours. We're waiting for you, Ma.
Thank you. Can I be heard?
Yes, yes, we can see you. Welcome, Ma.
Thank you. So today I'll be speaking on practical approach to women's rights. In Nigeria of today, we all know that having the law is not our problem, but the enforcement of the law is the problem that we have. We have a plethora of law that governs women's rights, starting from the 1999 Constitution. If you check Section 42, it covers freedom from discrimination. There shouldn't be discrimination as to sex or race or as to whatever. A woman should be given equal opportunity with her peers. We have various laws that empower the women in Nigeria. We have the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, which prohibits all forms of violence, speaking about domestic violence, economic violence, physical violence, battery, assault, all manners. But today, I'm not in the courtroom, and I will not be boring you all with laws, but I will be teaching you the law in the form of storytelling, just as the first speaker has spoken to us about storytelling. So let's do a quick fiction. I'll give us a name. The name of the person we are going to be using for our fiction is Adana. So Adana is a young woman living in Nigeria. She unfortunately lost her husband. She's a young widow. And her family, her husband's family, they are about to victimize her, about to push her out of her matrimonial home, where she has toiled and put in all efforts when they were not there. Adana is also suffering workplace harassment, and this had been ongoing since she joined that office, even before the death of her husband. What should Adana do? Does the law leave Adana alone? No, of course. The law is there to back Adana up. First, the family comes and they say that, okay, Adana, you cannot inherit. You do not have the right to inherit because you are a wife. This is what our culture says. I'm glad to tell you that the Nigerian Constitution says that wherever the law, is in conflict with any culture or tradition or religion, it is the ground norm that will supersede. That is, the Nigerian constitution would prevail. So I have good news for Adana. Adana doesn't have to suffer in silence. What does Adana do? Adana has to speak up. Now that she knows that there's a backing for her, she doesn't have to suffer unjustly, she has to speak up. About the workplace harassment, Adana has rights under the Labour Act. The Labour Act provides for freedom from harassment. Adana shouldn't be harassed at work. Adana can make reports via several means. For the assault and the victimization from Adana's family members, how do we go about that? I have said Adana needs to speak up. And when I say Adana, women need to speak up. Adana is just that fictitious name that I'm giving to women now. Women need to speak up. Women need to stop the barrier of fear. Women need to own up to their rights, because your right is in existence, but you need that push. Once you push it forward and you speak up, then your rights can be activated. Once Adana speaks up, and how does she go about this? She can speak to relevant agencies. If Adana cannot afford a lawyer, she cannot afford a lawyer to speak for her, a lawyer to institute a case for her, she can go through various agencies. We have agencies that deal with human rights activities, such as International Federation of Women Lawyers. And International Federation of Women Lawyers cater to women. They cater to women's rights and children's rights. Adana can approach any of them. Adana doesn't necessarily have to go to court, because that is when they will not start and say, oh, you want to take your husband's family to court, you want to take your family to court, you are forgetting that you have children, you are forgetting that the children will still bear the family's name. But no, you have to speak up, you have to break that barrier. If Adana doesn't speak up, then she's helpless and the law cannot help her. So these and many more are practical approaches to how women can enforce their rights. First is knowing your rights. And I heard the first speaker say something about documentation. Documentation is very, very important and very sacrosanct. Things that can help Adana. Now they've told her to leave the house. They've told her the house is for our son. Our son owns the house and you cannot take a pin from it. How can Adana be helped? Adana can help herself now by bringing out documents in her name, in her husband's name, telling that, okay, I also own this property. You can't push me out. When Adana has documents, she has the tool in her hand, and it's now easy for us to advocate for Adana. So I want to encourage women, Nigerian women, women on this call, please speak up at every given opportunity. Do not let your fears hold you down. If you have a right and you fail to speak up and you fail to push, if you do not document things that can enable your rights, those rights might just be trampled upon. And always go through the right channels. If you cannot afford to seek legal redress, approach organizations like FIDA Nigeria. In FIDA Nigeria, we have 36 chapters across Nigeria, and FIDA Nigeria is always there to hear the cry of women. Thank you, Antonia.
Thank you so much, Matt. That was very, very enlightening. And I'm sure our participants on this call have gotten, insights as to how they can assert and practical steps they could take to ensure that their rights are protected. Thank you so much, Ma, for joining us and for lending your voice to this conversation.